Okay, this is a Wilmette Park District regular board meeting of the Park Commissioners, Monday, June 10th at 7:40 p.m. May I have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Leahy.
Here.
Commissioner Clark.
Here.
Commissioner Goebel.
Here.
Commissioner Murdoch.
Here.
Commissioner Duffy.
Present.
You have a quorum.
Excellent, thank you. First item on our agenda tonight is consent agenda.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
We can't hear you.
All right, I will try again. Any better? I move to approve the consent agenda of June 10th, 2024, regular meeting of the Park. I'm sorry, guys. Board of Park Commissioners, a copy of which is to be attached and to become a permanent record of the meetings of this minute, the minutes of this meeting.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Is there any discussion on any of this? Nope. All these minutes. All right. Do I vote?
Commissioner Leahy.
Yes.
Commissioner Clark.
Yes.
Commissioner Goebel.
Yes.
Commissioner Murdoch.
Yes.
Commissioner Duffy.
Yes.
Consent agenda is approved.
All right, next item on our agenda is communication and correspondence. In the packet, we have received a number of emails. Is there anything any board member would like to add?
There was an email before we came from, I think, Bordwell that was, thanked us for the putting up
Yeah.
the
All right.
fence.
But that will make the next, that will be
They'll
in
make the next packet,
Yep,
yes.
all right.
The correspondence I received was in the packet.
As well, excellent. Anything else, Patrick? You're all set? All right. Next item on our agenda is public comment in recognition of visitors. We are now at the part of our agenda where the board hears from those of you with us tonight who wish to speak. Please know that this is a listening exercise and that we will not be responding to any of the questions asked during public comment. After public comment, the staff will give a report and the board will have the opportunity to discuss anything it wishes. During these discussions, very likely many of your questions will be answered. This is a policy that governs how we administer public comment. That can be found after the agenda in our packet, so on page 2 or the second page in our packet. The key factor I want to highlight is that public comment is restricted to 3 minutes. Executive Director Wilson will keep track of time and will inform the speaker they have 30 seconds remaining at the 2.5-minute mark. He will also inform the speaker when they have reached 3 minutes. At that time, we ask that you conclude your public comment. At the conclusion of public comment, at the conclusion of public comment will be when the board continues with the agenda. At that time, it is a meeting of the board in public. Any follow-up you may have should be directed to Executive Director Wilson via email or a phone call, and he will respond to you. So, let's get on with public comment. I have some sign-up sheets. Did everybody that wished to speak tonight sign in on one of the public speaking sheets?
No.
So here's what I will do. I will give you the opportunity to go over there and sign some more public comment sheets if you would like to speak, because I will call people's names off this sheet, and that is how we will call you up to speak. We were expecting to have some people from our foundation to present a check for the scholarship fund tonight. Are they in the audience? Okay, I don't see a show of hands. Is there anybody here tonight that wishes to speak on an item other than the fence at Gillson?
Yes.
Okay, so we will start with you. I see no other hands. Oh, I saw a hand go up in the back. Young man on somebody's shoulders. All right, would you like to come up, introduce yourself to us?
Yes, I would.
We have a microphone that you could speak into.
Patrick. Did we say for a minute?
Yep.
Hello, Park District Board of Wilmette. I would like to bring up the authoritative way.
I am going to ask you, please introduce yourself so we know who you are.
I'm Anastasia Royal. I'm a Wilmette resident. I've been living here for over 50 years. And I want to speak to two different issues. One is the closing of Gillson Park, which has gone from 11 to 10 to 9 to 8, and now you give megaphones and blare them out that you have to leave or you'll be ticketed. And this is a park. We're not doing anything. We're not criminals. We're trying to walk the beach and gain solace and rest and relaxation. And I'd also like to address the authoritative way we have been treated for the past 5 years. And I've seen it over and over again. And I'm very tired of it. It's cumulative. And I've watched you and your people that you train, who are lovely boys and girls, teenagers, who should not be trained to be authoritarian and yelling at people, and also being abusive to people on the beach. This is a recreation. This is something that we treasure. And don't close the beach at 8. It used to be all night long. Thank you.
I'm sorry. I am so bad at pronouncing names.
I'm not sure either.
It looks like it's really hard to read this handwriting. Sershan,
Spell the last name.
Nibhl. Okay.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Siobhan Bukla, and I am a 25-year resident of Wilmette. I want to read to you your mission statement from your website. Wilmette Park District, enriching the quality of community life through creative programming for people of all ages and abilities, while protecting open spaces and natural resources for future generations. With the erection of this fence, you have violated every single word of this mission statement.
Next, I have John Marshall, right? Or Jan? John? John Marshall.
I'm John Marshall. My family and I have lived in Wilmette for 30 years now. First of all, thank you all for your volunteer service. I know it's not, you put in a lot of hours, and I do appreciate that. One of my great joys of living in Wilmette is being able to ride my bike or walk over to Gillson, spend a few minutes in the past looking at the beach, enjoying the lake, maybe sitting at on one of the benches and looking out at our great natural resource. And now I can't do that because you've put up a really hideous fence. And you've made what has been a wonderful resource for the whole community, one that people now have to pay in order to sit on the sand or walk on the sand or get a good view of the lake. So we all make mistakes in life. I've made some doozies in my life. I think this is a great mistake that you all have made, and part of good leadership is recognizing when you've made a mistake and changing your minds. Thank you.
Next, Cheryl Balaban. Cheryl Balaban. Did I say that right? Oh, got her.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you again for your volunteer service, but as someone else mentioned, you are elected officials, elected to serve the community as we see fit. We take a lot of surveys, and we've taken quite a few about Gillson Park of late, and I fill out every one. I don't recall anybody mentioning anything about an additional swim beach, whether that was necessary or residents were calling for it. But suddenly we have a south swim beach, which apparently nobody needed. And the fencing that goes along has one sign that says it's to protect the dunes. Well, is it to protect the dunes? Because the next sign down says you're funneling us into 3 areas where we must pay to access the beach, which which, by the way, has no services, no bathrooms, no food service, no nothing but some kids trying to keep out the disturbances, which is another thing. What are these disturbances? It appears that it was a lot of kids who are partying and fighting. Well, maybe it was just that class of seniors who was overdoing it, and they would be gone now. To change the beach where I've lived my entire life because of some fighting kids seems like a very large solution. And I think it would have cost less to hire a security person than it would have to put that fence along the entire perimeter of the beach. So is it the dunes or the money? Is it the swim beach or is it money? Is it the disturbances or is it money? We recently received a historical registry award for Gillson Park and Beach. It seems like a sneaky way to monetize our greatest public treasure in this village. And I'm not just going there. I don't generally swim. Sometimes I play tennis and I want to walk over, dip my feet in the cool water. Maybe I want to go with my grandchildren or my children and have a picnic at $5 a person. Maybe I'm just trying to escape from the cacophony of the cicadas or read a book. And a teenager's going to determine based on what I'm wearing whether or not I'm going to swim. It seems, again, as a huge overreach by the board. And the last thing I want to say is that there was another episode where the board went too far without considering or talking to the neighbors, and that's the West Park with the pickleball. And this seemed like overnight the residents weren't asked about the need or considered, and suddenly we have something that's such a big story that it's being seen in literally all over the world in Britain, and it's sort of embarrassing.
The speaker has 30 seconds.
Not the kind of elitist village I want to live in. Thank you.
Ron Brzezinski.
Thank you. My name is Ron Brzezinski, resident of Wilmette, 57 years. My wife and I raised our 3 children and went to all the benefits of living up here. I'm not an activist, I'm not a joiner, but I am concerned. Several years ago, another issue arose in Wilmette. Someone was going to go ahead and knock down Melanchthon College and put up all condominiums. I got very active in that activity. And the outcome of it, working with the park board ended up buying land, getting land, putting in the park district. I was very proud of the park board. I was very proud of all the work they did. I can't say that today.
Grace Bowen. Grace Bowen. Thank you. I thought that was a long.
Hi. I'm Grace
Grace.
Bowen. I have been going to that beach since I was little with me and my sisters and sometimes my friends when we're just trying to relax. And I feel like it's a really good part of life just to be able to know that when it's summertime and you're bored and you're really hot, you can just go to the beach, not worry about anything. I mean, I feel like recently things have been just everywhere you go. If you want to do something, if you want to go to the zoo, if you want to do something, I feel like you always have to pay. And I feel like it was nice to just have some place where you could just go there and you don't need to focus on those problems. You don't need to focus on, well, I need this amount of money for this amount for this. It was just nice to be able to just walk around and think, hey, I'm close nearby. Why don't I just go? Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Grace. Jeff Axelrod. Jeff Axelrod.
Somewhere in here I have my notes. Hello, my name is Jeff Axelrod. As I stand before you today as a representative of the Unfence Gillson initiative, about 3.5 weeks ago, we began this campaign to address the sudden and unilateral decision to fence off Gillson's South Beach. Starting when the fence appeared, I have worked tirelessly alongside a dedicated group of residents who are passionate about preserving the openness and accessibility of this beloved public space. In this short time, we've organized rallies, family-friendly events like our recent poster-making party, and initiated widespread community engagement. Our message is clear. Gillson Beach belongs to the people, not the Park District. They have no right to encumber access or impose fees on it. We are committed to advocating for the removal of this fence as the first step towards a collaborative solution. Only then can we begin to offer advice and work together to ensure that the park remains a welcoming space for all. Our efforts have already garnered significant traction citywide and even internationally. The controversy over the fence is receiving continuing coverage by the major media outlets, highlighting the community's outrage and the broader issues of transparency and equity that this situation underscores. I want to take this moment to thank everyone who has joined us in this cause. Everybody. Your support is invaluable. Whether you've attended a rally, created a poster, or simply voiced your concern, you are making a difference. But this is just the beginning. We need to remain vigilant, persistent, and united. To my fellow community members here tonight, I urge you to stay engaged. The park board may hope that we may tire and go and fade away, but we're here for the long haul. Our commitment to preserving Gillson Park's openness and accessibility will not waver. Thank you, my fellow engaged residents, for all of what you're doing, and I look forward to continuing this fight alongside all of you.
Larry Siegel. Larry Siegel.
Hi. First, thank you for making this an open meeting where we can all talk to you and listen to you. I'm going to keep this very short. I used to go to the beach to swim. Now I'm 70 years old. I go there to sit on the park benches, take a walk, and look at the lake. Well, one of the reasons that we have a lakefront park is so we can look at the lake, and I can't see the lake. So please take the fence down. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Sherry Luzzy? Did I say that right?
Good evening. I'm Sherry Luzzi. Thank you for listening. I was surprised when I saw the fence go up, and I was even more surprised when I read it was to protect the dunes, because that didn't sit right with me. I don't think that's the reason. And then I heard that there was a problem with many incidents happening on the beach that police were called for. If that's the case, that's of interest to me. But I'd like to have an understanding to the extent and the nature of the problems that have been going on the beach. It's especially concerning to me as I live just a couple blocks away, and that all filters through my neighborhood. So I'd like an explanation of that. That would help me understand this better. I'm concerned for the senior citizens, like Mr. Siegel, who cannot get to the beach to see it beyond the fence, and it's a hindrance to them to be able to have to walk where they need to go. I'm also concerned, and perhaps you could address this, that fence, I don't know how long it's up for. Maybe you could address that tonight. And I also am concerned that it's going to end up staying up all year round. And that would be a real travesty. Thank you.
What do you think? I have Carl Hoffman. All right. Well, we got two Carls here.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. What's your last name?
Hopman, yes.
Hopman, right here. Okay.
Good evening. My name is Carl Hopman, and I live at 311 Driftwood Lane in Wilmette, and I've lived there for 18 years. I'm concerned that the staff is directing the board to get its ambition done in spite of the wishes of Wilmette's residents. This is a classical case of empire building. Park Director Steve Wilson seems to be blissfully disconnected from the population. In his answer to my first email, he was expecting only positive feedback to the fence decision. It is true that the Park District is not the largest component of our property taxes. Nevertheless, you have just decided without consultation to purchase the Bev Hill property for $5.5 million, which represents a lump sum of $500 per household. This is not a small amount. Many families might prefer to spend that money differently, and it should be done only after proper consultation of the residents. You may argue that you have consulted the residents, but that consultation gave you exactly the opposite recommendations. Indeed, in that large survey of the whole village, the strongest weakness reported by residents was that fees and costs are too high. Not only are you forcing each household to spend an extra $500, you are also adding fees to the only remaining free beach in Wilmette, even though there was already a swimming beach and there was no demand for a second one. The second biggest weakness in this big survey was too developed, keeps park natural. Instead of following it, you are adding a fence which destroys the views, including for senior citizens who want to watch the beach and the lake from their cars. You are also pouring concrete on Langdon Beach instead of keeping it natural as the population is asking you, and again, without consultation. This is also in opposition to the top request from residents, which was trails for hiking, walking, biking. The path along South Beach was one of the nicest for both hikers and joggers, and you are destroying the beautiful view with this horrible fence. The second highest request was natural areas for passive recreation. This is exactly what the South Beach was, and you are reducing access to it. The whole South Beach change was not only done against the will of the population, it was also done in deceit under the agenda topic South Beach operations at the committee meeting. The staff is either by mistake or willfully doing the opposite, exact opposite of residents are asking of the Park District. I request that you immediately remove the fence. In addition, given that all three policies violate the results from the original survey, I recommend that before finalizing any of these or other future projects of the same magnitude, you actively consult the community. You could do a simple survey together with your newsletter, for example, using SurveyMonkey, together with a space with public comments, where interested residents would be able to provide their feedback and propose alternative solutions. You could then take your decisions in full knowledge and in alignment with residents' wishes. Thank you.
Alan Golden. Alan?
Alan Golden, 40-plus year resident of Wilmette, and I've been sailing at Gillson Park, as many of you know, since 1982. I spend a tremendous amount of time at Gillson Park. But I'd like to start by commending Megan White and her staff for just everything going very smoothly so far this season, at least on the sailing beach. Parking's been controlled, access has been controlled nicely, and the beach was in great shape for those of us who use it for sailing. As far as the comments on the fence at South Beach go, I found an interesting little tidbit in Mr. Wilson's report that despite the fence, which I agree no one likes, but despite the fence, the beach has been busy with 191 season pass visits and 2,700 daily admissions. I assume that's an average. And only 15% of those are residents.
It's a total.
So I find that to be very interesting, despite the fence.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Yeah. Ray Koenig.
Thank you. My name is Ray Koenig. Live at 705 11th Street, which is the corner of Central and 11th here in downtown Wilmette. Moved here 20 years ago to be close to the lake and close to the train. Thought that would be very convenient and has been. With this recent set of events, we've found ourselves not being able to use the beach. I'm a sailor, not a swimmer, and my wife is a reader, loves to sit down there and read. And the current configuration doesn't allow for either one very well. What I'd like to bring up, though, and I haven't heard yet, what happens the 4th of July at the beach? What happens at Labor Day at the beach? What happens to the beach for 9 months of the year until we get back to Memorial Day? Will the lake, will it be off limits? Will we be paying $5 to walk an empty beach? I visited the beach numerous times the last 2 weeks at like 3 in the afternoon and haven't seen very many people there, and parking was absolutely no issue. So that's the end of my statement. What happens in the future? The other people that will speak to you will talk about what's happening tomorrow. Thank you.
Carol Kagan. Did I say that right? Kagan?
I'm Carol Kagan, and my family's lived in Wilmette for 17 years. The last time I spoke to you was on this issue, and it was the first time I'd ever been to a park board meeting. It was when I saw these elderly people sitting on benches, terribly upset. And I'm not going to repeat any comments that I made before. I would just like to, except to note that none of the answers to my previous questions made sense. But I'm commenting again to highlight my difficulty with 3 things the Park District has said since then, and I'll speak quickly to stay under my 3 minutes. First, when I talked about friends about these measures, some of them said they supported it because the Park District had said that there were hundreds of calls to the police because of incidents on the beach, and it wasn't safe. Yet none of them had seen any evidence of what they now believe to be a crime wave at the beach. They had no idea that this was the total number of calls concerning all of Gillson Park, and that few of them implicated public safety at the beach. Why are you giving misleading information that is harming Wilmette's reputation and making people feel unsafe? And if it is a matter of safety, if it is a matter of safety, why is it necessary to charge Wilmette residents for access to what was once free and cut off access to the elderly and handicapped? My second comment concerns a statement that Mr. Duffy made at the May meeting. Mr. Duffy said that the fence is the alternative. The word alternative means that there's more than one possibility, not that the fence is the possibility. Did the board consider any less restrictive alternatives? If not, why not? If so, what were they? And why was this one deemed necessary? Third, I was troubled by the comment made in the Park District South Beach update that the added measures had already reduced disturbances that increased safety for beachgoers. There are no disturbances if there's no one at the beach. It is not an achievement to drive people away, and it sends a very bad message as to the Park District's priorities. The severe limitations on access that this park board has instituted over the past couple of years seem to have more to do with repression than with ensuring the safe use of the beach. I can't believe this is what Wilmette wants.
Kyle McMillan.
Hello, my name's Kyle McMillan. We live at 1002 Linden Avenue, and I also spoke, as did Carol last time at the meeting. And this time I don't want to repeat all the various reasons why we shouldn't have a fence. I think many people who have spoken before me have been very eloquent on the subject. But what I would like to talk about is the process, because this process has very much disappointed me all along. The first time I ever came and was involved in any sort of public meeting in Wilmette, I came about a year ago to talk about the tree ordinance with the village board. And I got up and I spoke, and I felt welcomed. I felt I was being listened to. And I liked that whole process. There were months of hearings. There were back and forth. I wrote emails. I got emails responded to. And it felt like, in the end, we developed a tree ordinance that was a compromise. It was something that a lot of people could live with. And at the very end of the process, they said, yeah, and we'll come back and we'll talk about this again, and we'll make sure this is really working for the community. But all along the way, I felt like it was something that the village board was listening to the public and trying to develop something in with them, trying to work together with them. And I have not felt that here. I went to the last park board meeting, and it seemed like public comments were just something to be, oh my, we have to put up with that. We were almost disdainful of the public comments, and I'm really sorry about that. This should be a process where we all work together. It should be a process where we're listened to. And you say you're listening, but I don't feel that. And I hope that you are listening. As you can tell from all the people here, it really means something to us. This is very important to us. And we really want to be listened to. And it is, we don't want to be dictated to. You're smirking. I don't understand why you're smirking. This is not funny. This is very serious to us. We would like to work with you. So if there are problems at the beach, let's talk about it. Maybe there's other ways to deal with this. As others have mentioned, there's not just one way to do this. There are other alternatives to achieve some of the same results. So all I would ask of you is what we've been seeking all along, is openness. Openness and freedom, and let everybody have inclusivity on the beach. And please listen to us. Please take what we're saying into account and really give this some thought as to what we're saying tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Jennifer Obel? Yeah, okay, good.
Hi, thank you for dedicating your time to us, but I'd like to speak quickly and ask that this not be on television. I moved to Wilmette because of South Beach. I lived in the city and I always wanted to have an urban lifestyle. And the reason was because of the diversity. I could hear music from India, music from Mexico, and I could see all kinds of people and not feel isolated. As my life changed, I became more isolated because I have a significant disability. And the way I get out to the world is on those benches, like the 70-year-olds, but I'm 50. And I've noticed an interesting use of the beach by most of Wilmette. They come down and they walk and ride their bikes by South Beach and look at it and leave. And that's their time of nature. But there's some of us who sit there so that we can be a part of the world and see the world. And that bench means as much to me as any 80-year-old. And we're all there together. And I just think when you put up that fence, you're taking away what made Wilmette special, was that we were open, and then you're taking a population that needed that bench for support to look at the water and taking that beautiful park away.
Bill Lumperitis? I killed it, didn't I?
You and everybody else. Hi, my name is Bill Lumperitis. I live at 411 Maple in Wilmette. We've been residents of Wilmette for over 30 years. And a lot of the points I wanted to make have already been made. I was stunned. If I could have your attention, please. I'll wait.
All right, you got it. We're notified of something. That's okay.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
It's cool, but I all right, thank you. So South Beach is what is known as South Beach. I consider it more Gillson Park. And I think we're conflating a couple of issues here, security on sand versus the park as a whole. A big part of the park experience is the Overlook Drive experience. And that is, to me, that is the place where I go to nourish my soul. That is where I go to be in nature and to talk to God. And I can't do that anymore. I sit and I look at a fence and I'm sad. I no longer have that place. I've tried going out, down the road to Tower Beach, gone up and down those stairs. I've taken a friend of mine who has Parkinson's. We used to go sit at one of the benches and just have a deep conversation, look out over the water. We can't do that anymore. So I've tried going up to Glencoe. There's some benches up there. It's a much longer drive for both of us, but we do have an unobstructed view up there. So there are some alternatives on the North Shore, but bottom line, this is a huge loss for the community. It's a huge loss for all of us, and I strongly request that you reconsider this decision. Take a more measured approach, a more incremental approach. See how it goes. Let's talk about other options, and let's try and find some middle ground here. Thank you.
Gail D.
Good evening. Thanks for letting me speak again. Some of you may have heard me speak. I'm not a resident here in Wilmette, but I spoke at the last meeting because I have a physical handicap. I can't walk very well without a crutch, and bought season passes at your beach, and I talked about emotionally about how much it meant to me that about seeing the fence and what happened. I'm also on social media, and I made a video that some of you may have seen called, entitled "Fear and Fences in Wilmette," because I feel like this is what it's about, a fear of what could happen. I've read your notes and minutes, and I'm up here today not to talk about the emotional appeal, but I did a FOIA request to the police department here because I have a law degree, and I'm working with Unfence Gillson to find out what the real truth of things are, so that we can actually get on the same page and talk, okay? Because I'm doing social media, I'm seeing a lot of discussion about confusion about what the safety is that you're trying to address, whether it's swimming safety, worker safety, dune erosion. So I'm going to go over a few things that I've discovered. First of all, anybody can look up what the drowning statistics are with the Great Lakes Surf Rescue Project. And between 2011 and 2020, there were no drownings in Wilmette. Between 2020 and 2023, there was 3. Now, somebody might pick up another one. I had to go through each year and examine these statistics from Great Lakes. It's not clear from the 3 drownings that happened in Wilmette during the last couple of years whether those swimmers or how they got there, whether they came, what part of the beach. One of them looks like it was a suicide. So I'm just saying everybody shouldn't. I'm not saying that I'm a swimmer. I mean, I use it for my health. I'm chemically sensitive. I can't swim in chlorine. I start, like I told everybody last time, I start 10 minutes and then I build up for my health. And that bench is important to me to sit down. The FOIA request I had to do with the incident that Director Wilson discussed at the last meeting when people asked him to specify what the incidents were so we could get a grip, everybody could get a grip of what's going on down there. He mentioned an incident that involved about 100 people surrounding a staff member. So the Wilmette police just gave me their answers to the FOIA. I mean, I asked 4, that was one question. There was 4 questions I submitted to the police. That was the first one. There was no arrest reports made from that incident. I take it took place in June of 2023. There was an incident report, and I did ask for it. It says it was low priority. There was 50 members, and there was no...
30 seconds.
I'm sorry?
You have 30 seconds remaining.
If I could be allowed to give you the results of these FOIA requests. There was no assault and batteries in 4 years. There was no guns, weapons, or knife pulled on any patron or staff member, no arrest members, okay? There was no other arrest reports of incidents of 20 people or more surrounding anybody on the beach. That's what the FOIA request gave me from the police department today, okay?
Mark Wire Mueller. Yeah. Miller. I'm sorry. We'll scribble. Look like a U.
Oh, I can barely hear you.
Yeah.
Mark Weiermiller here. I'll speak up because the audio in here is not great. I go to lots of board meetings. There are 15 commissions with the village board here, and the Park District has a slew of other things like the Committee of the Whole. I don't even know what that is. Committee of the Whole, Committee of the Half. But this is good that we're at a board meeting. It's exciting to see all these people here. This is the most people I've ever seen at a Wilmette meeting. So give me 8 more seconds for that applause. We're posting about this on Wilmette Connection, a Facebook page, and it's interesting. I wish all the board members were following this instead of spending a lot of money on these surveys to just see what people are thinking. A couple of quick things. I usually speak about taxes and pensions with all the government boards because they're just too high. I question the process here. There's a lot of people questioning the process. Some people in the room might not know that the Park District just bought the Beth Hiller congregation on Glenview Road for $5.5 million. I was the only one at the meeting who said we shouldn't borrow $5.5 million. And there was not much in that process there. I don't know what they're going to have. Some people say they're going to tear it down and build a pool there. But I'm just bringing this up because I want more full disclosure on this. I'm going to bring this up. There's a faucet broken at the new bathroom over at the community playfields. They built a beautiful new bathroom, and they have faucets that don't work. So I worry about the Park District, some of their management. They've got water saver faucets that only dribble out. So that's just something. I encourage people to go over there and check that out yourself. As far as pickleball goes, it seemed like everybody was against the pickleball over there, and they built it anyway in West Park. A couple other quick things. West Park, they want to build a dog park over there, but the property is in Glenview, which is very strange. It's actually owned by ComEd. It's under power lines. I'm not sure why we're going to fence in an area over there, and I'm not sure if we should have Glenview do it. 2 more things. I think the fees are too high. To be a senior, you got to be 65 years old on the beach. So I'm 64, so I guess I'm not a senior yet. So I can't get the discounted rate. Lastly, on the police incidents, I see the Wilmette Police does not post these incidents. And I've encouraged them, you see a police report and they have like 2 things. So I wish they would do a full disclosure on everything so we can see what's going on. So that's it, and thank you for your time.
Thanks, Mark. Maya Crystal?
Hi, my name is Maya Crystal. I'm a proud product of our District 39 schools in Went to New Trier, and I just finished up my junior year at University of Illinois. And thank you. At U of I, a lot of times I'm talking to people from different suburbs, and we talk about like which suburb is the best, which suburb is the worst. And the one thing that I say that I love about Wilmette most is Gillson Park, and specifically what is being now referred to as the South Beach, because we used to be the only public beach that anyone could come to on the North Shore and enjoy the views, enjoy the shoreline, that was accessible and people could enjoy. I can no longer say that. I no longer have the thing that I was proudest about our village. And that's heartbreaking for me. And I also used to just go to, despite being a family we've been members of the Sailing Beach as long as I can remember. I've grown up on the Sailing Beach, but I still find myself going to Gillson Beach when I'm stressed, when I just want to sit and listen to the waves and not have to deal with the hassles of the Sailing Beach or some of the other beaches. And I can't do that anymore. Now when I go there, I get upset because there's a fence blocking my view. It feels like the process of planning around Gillson Park has been going on since I've been in college for the past 5 or so years. And yet this major change wasn't a part of that process that we've done so many surveys and you've been so great about reaching out for input on. And so I wonder, why has this not been a part of that process, and how can we make it part of that process? How can you invite us to the table so that we can have discussions before these decisions are being made, so that we can reverse course and make this the community that we want to live in? Thank you.
Process. Sorry about that. Lourdes Vasquez. Vasquez.
Good afternoon. My name is Lourdes Vasquez. I moved to Wilmette from California in 2017, so I'm kind of the youngest one here living in Wilmette. I think that I'm learning a lot about this situation, listen to all the people here. For me, it's more like I would like to have a little more clarification about security, how that fence, which is very weak, is going to protect like active teenagers going to the beach. Like I cannot really understand that part. And if it's for the dunes, like why it has to be so high? So maybe it could be the half so people can sit and enjoy the view. For the other part is the economic impact. So if I just bought the beach and the Centennial Park for like more than $300. So if my friend cannot go there, but we can meet in Gillson, now I have to pay. So it's like double this part of what is happening here. And the third is I will really ask all of you to put yourself, at least for a few seconds, in his shoes, in their shoes, in our shoes. And it's unfair that after 2 years of pandemic, we should be here instead of being in the beach and relaxing and fixing a lot of things that we have. Hopefully, with respect, you listen to us and really put your shoes in our situation, because having a wife who has a breast cancer is not easy. Having some kind of disease and disabilities is not easy. And after pandemic, this is unfair.
Hannah Daneker.
Thank you for taking the time to let us speak again today. I appreciate it.
Can you please not be rude to the speakers? They're speaking to us. That's what public comment is. They're not speaking to you. These are people who are trying to express them, and you're drowning them out. You are being rude. You're being children.
Motion for a recess. Motion for a recess.
I second.
Let's just take.
We've asked for better audio numerous times.
Let's go.
Is this the best you can do?
So, sir, Hannah has spoken before. We all want to hear her. She has a very soft voice. I think we can all wait. Rather than recess, we can just listen. Okay? Can we restart the clock too?
Yep.
All right. So everybody, just listen. And I want to see, if you have your pictures, Hannah, you can show them. Okay? Thank you.
What we do to the earth, what we do to this park, what we do to this beach, we do to ourselves, we do to each other, we do to future generations. This fence that you've put up cuts us off from nature. It cuts us off from each other. It cuts us off from ourselves. Gillson Beach was once a place of solace, of refuge from the turmoils of modern life. It was a place to commune with nature, to be held in her warm embrace. Mother Nature gives us so much. She provides for us in abundance. When we take more than we need, when we take in excess, we disrespect the sacred balance of life itself. Nature cannot be owned in her essence. The Wilmette Park District, its board and staff, has a critically important duty and responsibility to shepherd the relationship that Wilmette and its residents and visitors have with our natural spaces and how we interact with them. Daniel Burnham, the celebrated American architect and urban designer who designed Gillson Park, intended for this space to remain forever open, clear, and free, a notion in complete opposition to the recently installed fence. Gillson Park and Beach are not just an environmental treasure, but a legacy of Chicago region history, deserving to be appropriately preserved and enjoyed by all. Recently awarded National Register of Historic Places status and listed on Landmark Illinois' top 5 most endangered historically and culturally significant sites, it is Wilmette Park District's obligation and duty to honor Daniel Burnham's vision. Burnham is also quoted, "It was Chicago with its World's Fair which vivified the national desire for civic beauty. Plenty of studies have shown the profound impact public green spaces can have on mental health, environmental health, and biodiversity. Constructing a fence and enforcing fees enforces physical and economic barriers, cutting us off from nature, cutting us off from ourselves. It transforms the once natural and symbiotic ecological and social relationships that occur in this space into a distinctly prohibitive and extractive dynamic. There are other viable solutions to the concerns purported by the Wilmette Park District as the reasons for implementing this fence. I implore Wilmette Park District to remove the fence and fees at Gillson South Beach and to consider all of the alternative options. Concerns identified at the last meeting on May 20th and possible solutions include swimmer safety. We could designate additional lifeguards and or signage. Swimming beaches are too crowded. We could expand the pre-existing swimming beach or make parts of the beach swim at your own risk with proper signage. Civil disruptions. We could hire designated staff trained in conflict resolution dedicated to this task, perhaps staff that are not minors. Environmental preservation and preventing dune erosion. A comprehensive study conducted by a neutral and qualified third-party environmental consultant has not been conducted. Something of this sort would likely provide the best insights into impacts the fence may have on the local ecosystem and may help identify alternative restoration strategies. There may be other viable solutions I have not listed. I think that needs to be a continued discussion. Please account for the feedback of our community and steward this space in the spirit of diversity, inclusion, and preservation of our environment and history. It is up to us to decide how we want to hold space for ourselves, for each other, for our children, and for our future. Diverse and supportive spaces create healthier, more resilient ecosystems and societies. Now more than ever, we need to support each other, our natural environment, and our social fabric to restore peace and balance in the world. It means a lot to walk where your ancestors walk. You look back on where you came from and all the trials and tribulations those survivors went through. You have to stop and think about that to thank them. That was a quote by Sharon Hoog-Stratton, a descendant of Archange Chevalier Wilmette, spoken at her visit as a guest of honor to the plaque dedicating and honoring Wilmette and the Potawatomi, Ojibwe, and Odawa people on Saturday, November 5th, 2022. 2022 was the year that that Gillson Park was listed on Landmark Illinois' list of endangered places as well. Please consider the feedback of the community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm just going to say, because you were quiet, you could all hear her. But when you're sitting there yelling at them to speak up, they can't hear anything. And you are acting like children.
Mark Wyan? Is this still my right? Hey, is Mark Weyermuller still here, or is there a Mark Wyan? Is there a Mark Wyan? All right, I think that's Weyermuller. Lori McCaffrey?
She's shaking her head.
Okay, thank you. Carla, Kusel. All right. There's no Carla. And we'll go with Paula Fernandez. Yeah, I think that's Fernandez. All right, awesome.
Hello, I'm Paula Fernandez. I am a resident of Wilmette, 1141 Forest Avenue, for the last 12 years, and I'm here with my 2 children. I actually had not intended to speak, but you had a sign-in sheet. I thought I was supposed to sign in, so now I'm going to say my bit. So I've heard many people speaking about how they use the beach. I am a walker. I walk to that beach every day, year-round, most days, year-round. And I sit on a bench with my little notebook, and I wait for the wind to speak, for the waves to speak, and I write, and it begins my day. So not very long ago, a couple weeks ago, I took my walk as usual, and when I got to my bench, I found the fence. And since then, I haven't been back. So that's the loss. But we're quiet people. We people who walk to the beach and sit on the bench and wait for the waves to speak. And so maybe you wouldn't notice that I don't go. I think probably you don't notice. And the truth is, we usually manage to what we measure. And what I'm hearing is that what you're measuring is disturbances on the beach. And I bet that that fence is going to actually reduce the disturbances on the beach. And you're going to say, great, we did it. We succeeded. We managed the thing we measured, disturbances. But what you're not measuring is all the poems that didn't get written, all the walks that didn't happen, all the conversations that used to happen on the benches. They don't happen because people know that there's nothing to see there, that the wind isn't going to speak to them there, then they're not going to see the waves. And so the quiet ones, like me, we went somewhere else, and we've lost our beach. And you won't see that because you're measuring disturbances, and you're not measuring peace.
Carl Slater.
Carl Slater. I've lived in Wilmette about 20 years, near 4th and Linden. I'd like to open by acknowledging the work that the Park District has done. More than could be listed. I'll mention 2. There's a very careful husbanding of the Purple Martin House to encourage the flock to come back from Brazil each year, and utilize volunteers to do that. Similarly, your great connection with Go Green Wilmette and the work that they're doing. It's heartwarming. I walk most mornings from my home over to the lake, around, up and down Overlook Drive, head back to the temple, and then home. And I appreciate it's early morning, I appreciate being able to do that. I appreciate that the board has striven to solve a problem. The problem or problems, I believe, are not widely understood by the community, but I acknowledge the effort to do that. The particular decision that you've made and implemented has unintended consequences that you've heard about here. You've closed the door on me and my wife sitting on a bench and having lunch and looking at the lake, or driving down on a cold day to sit in the car and look at the lake. So you've closed the door on that. It's an unintended consequence. Surely that was not your purpose, commissioners. I believe that you considered other possibilities, other possible solutions, and I ask that you reconsider those in light of the learning that arises from what the unintended consequences have been, and that you work collaboratively with key people in the community to be able to find what is the next solution, what is the next thing to try. Whatever that may be, you'll have my full support in implementing it. And we'll learn from that as well. But you do not have my support for the problem as you've attempted to solve it now. It's simply not workable. You've turned a free and open area into a cloistered environment. I'm happy to work collaboratively with whomever you might wish to do, because I spend so much time there and it means so much to me.
Vicki Goodwin. Mindy. Thank you. You beat me to it.
It was going to be a hard one.
I've lived in Wilmette for almost 30 years, and I'm on the fence about this issue because I feel that the information that we've gotten, and other people have said this too, about the number of incidents, were they on the beach or just in Gillson in general? Were they committed by residents or non-residents? Whether they were during hours when you will have employees collecting fees or after hours. And I really do not think that teenagers are equipped to handle what I'm understanding is the main reason for the fence is these incidents. I don't think it's fair for those. My kids were teenagers and they worked at the Park District. I certainly wouldn't want them to have been the one to deal with whatever these incidents are. What I'm not on the fence about is that the fence that exists now is a big eyesore. I strongly object to the same thing that everybody else objects to, a bit blocking the benches. Sitting on those benches is therapy. It's a chance to look at the lake and extend our gaze beyond our computer screens and to get out of our own heads. Sometimes I'll just drive down there when I have 5 minutes to just be there. The other issue here, and it's one that people are skirting to a certain extent, but other people have addressed, is there are a lot of non-residents that are here tonight because ours was the only free beach on the North Shore. I do feel like everybody has a right to access our beach, but I really am not sure that only Wilmette taxpayers should have to fund the upkeep of it. One of the women that was waiting in line to get in that I spoke to and asked her where she was from, and she said, Glenview. And I said, why are you here tonight? And she said, because she wants to come to our beach because the water isn't polluted here and it is in Chicago beaches. And I'm thinking, well, it's kind of the same water. But I think what she meant was there was less garbage on the beaches in Wilmette. Maybe it isn't fair for the taxpayers of Wilmette to be the only ones to fund us having the not polluted beach for everybody to enjoy. I don't know. There are just so many issues here, and
the speaker has 30 seconds.
Okay, and it's clear that there's a lot more that needs to be done to figure it all out. Where do you stop where do you charge the fee? At the entrance to Gillson, do you charge for fireworks? Because whatever, I don't know. I'm just hoping that you continue to consider these issues, as I'm sure you will. I remember maybe it was 10 years ago, I don't know, this issue, the Park District was going to fence the beach at another point, and it was voted down. So this is not a new issue. Thank you.
Ann Finnegan. Ann Finnegan. There's a bunch of people getting up here.
Hello, my name is Ann Finnegan. We moved here in 2011, and the last time the fence was an issue, I didn't come to those meetings because I was new in town and didn't feel like it was my place. Now, all these years later, right after we bought the house, people were like, hey, how do you like the house? And I said, the house is great, but I'd pay the same money for a double wide on the lot for the neighbors. And I mean it, and I mean it to this day. Wilmette is a place where you go and people have stuffed animals in their yards for the kids. And the kids are riding the bikes and the people aren't yelling at them for riding on the sidewalks. Wilmette's a place with lending libraries all over the place. Wilmette's a place where when every suburb in this area that is having buses full of immigrants dropped off, migrants, Wilmette's the place that says, hey guys, alert, there's a bunch of migrants just got dropped off. Let's provide for them. Let's give them some toothpaste and some kits and help them out at least a little bit, and let's not shut our doors to them. And Gillson Beach and those benches, which I've also enjoyed. My son had special needs, still has special needs. And there were many, 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 many days, rainy days, snowy days, summer days, go down. I don't have time with a special needs child to go out and enjoy and walk and this and that. I would sit and just for 5 minutes, look out at the water and breathe. When I go down to Gillson Beach now, and the walking beach, and and I always enjoyed that there were people from all kinds of communities. I could hear all these languages being spoken, and they were here, and they were welcome. My taxes go up every single year. They are eye-popping. They're going up $500 more, apparently, because you guys bought something that, why? And you're charging $5 a head at the beach? It sounds like that money could have been saved and put towards the beach. Anyway, those people are in the water. They're families, and they're having fun. And I'm grateful and I'm proud of that. And that's who I want to be, and that's what I want to pay taxes for. Not to shut us down to everybody. I want those people. I want everybody here. We have enough. We have enough to share. We have books we share. We have lots of money. We can buy supplies for people coming from other countries. We have enough to share. And I guess that's my point, is for my money, leave the fence, take the fence down. And I see a whole line of people standing over there. I'm assuming some of you have been on duty at the beach. I don't think kids should be, if there are issues happening, they shouldn't be confronted at, what I was going to say, sorry, is when I've heard all those languages being spoken, I worked in advertising. I was an award-winning advertiser. And I would look at the signs that said, no swimming. And I'm like, all the signs are in English. What are you doing? Right. Put the signs in multi-languages. In the future, have people with plastic cards with a whole explanation in different languages. It should be access for all. We have enough. And the lake doesn't really belong to anybody. Last piece, because I'm not going to get back here probably. If you're worried about the dunes, Lake Michigan is projected to be 17 inches higher by 2050. There's studies on it. That's where we should be spending our money and looking to. Thank you.
David Schoenberg.
Schoenberg.
All right, thank you.
No problem. All right, I'll be pretty brief. I want to start, and I can't believe I have to start this way. It is not rudeness for us to ask for you guys to speak up or the speakers at this dais to speak up. It's because we're interested in what you have to say and what the speakers have to say. To call us... Shame on you if you call us rude when we are just asking for someone to speak up so we can hear them. Truly. Okay. So I'm a 27-year resident of Wilmette. I convinced a woman to join me from California to start a family. We basically raised 2 boys on Gillson's Beach, South Beach in particular, but at times we paid for beach passes. We certainly did 3rd of July fireworks, Wallace Bowl performances. We've done it all at Gillson and loved it. Years ago, my wife was diagnosed with breast cancer, and we found solace in just going and watching the lake and being together. I'm a piano player, and I could not bring my Steinway to the beach, so I found I had to grab a new instrument. I grabbed a ukulele, and I learned how to do it on YouTube, and have been playing almost daily in summer. I've seen so many people here over the years on the beaches where I played. I'm getting a little broken up because I'm not a deeply religious person, but I'm a very spiritual person. And My wife passed away, but I go and I play on that beach, at those benches, looking at the beach, in memory of all the years we spent there. And I can tell you, some people may be surprised that there are 2,700 people a day who are still availing themselves of the beach. Well, hallelujah. But how many people are not that did last year? And I have been there this year, and I've watched large families look at each other, look at the sign, stare at each other, and turn around. And I have been there with my Unfence Gillson flyer and say, I am sorry. As a resident of Wilmette, I am sorry, whether you are or are not. This is a shame, and we are committed to working with the park board, listening to your very real issues, and coming up with solutions to them that are not as dramatically draconian, and changing the way that we enjoy what most of us believe is the jewel of our parks in Wilmette. And so that's all I really wanted to say. And please speak up so everybody can hear you. Thank you.
All right, that's everybody that had signed up on a public speaking sheet that I have received. I know you spoke.
No, I'm speaking about, you said something that is not about fence. I'm speaking about the fence now.
Yeah.
Other speakers?
Michelle?
Yeah, all right.
I think you should ask.
Why don't you go ahead?
Other people. Those are not.
There's sign-in sheets.
Yeah, no, whomever's just handed me those, it said not public speaking on the top, just for. No, that's fair. We'll get to you.
We'll get to you. Yeah, I just said I was done with the sheets. Go ahead.
Yes, I'm Anastasia Royal. I've lived in Wilmette for over 50 years. I'm a New Trier graduate. My children graduated from New Trier. And I was speaking earlier because you asked if someone wanted to speak on something that was not related to the fence. And so I was speaking on that. Now I'm speaking about the fence. And I also am very happy to see the board facing us this time, because at the last meeting you were facing away as we were all speaking to you, and there were like about 100 people there, and we asked you to how you were listening to us when you were facing away, and you could have turned your chairs away. So it's wonderfully refreshing to see you looking at us this time. And I want to also talk about the fact that you do not own the beach. The Park District does not own that property. It's the state of Illinois. And you should put a sign there. It should have been there for many years already, saying, swim at your own risk. All over the world. Thank you very much. All over the world, people have signs like that. And all over this United States, people are able to swim. There's riparian rights. You are able to be in the water. I've been hauled out for, I don't know, maybe 10 years now. Or they tried to haul me out. And I swim every day. I swim every day in the lake. I swim in the winter. I swim when it's cold. So there's lots of people that it's ridiculous that we have to beg to sit on a fence. To sit on a bench behind a fence and implore you. That's ridiculous. It's also ridiculous that we have to ask permission to go into water that belongs to us and doesn't even belong to you. And there are very few unfettered places in the world. You've taken away the jewel of this community, and it will not stand. You will be not elected in April, and you will be gone, and the fence will be gone, and we won't need to ask permission.
So what I'm going to do, for anybody that did not sign up on a sheet, I'm going to ask for a show of hands, and I'm going to start on this side, and I'm going to start in the front row, and I will move back. And then I'll come to this side, and I will start in the front row, and I will move back. So on this side, could I see a show of hands? All right, I have 5 people, in front row right here.
My name is Robert Kirsch, age 39. Lived here for 35 years. So what I have to say is more serious. I have gone down to the Gillson almost every day. And I usually talk to Kevin. I think he's one of the people in charge of the beach. And I said, what's happened here? And he said, life safety. And I said, oh, what do you mean by that? What, can you give me some examples? He couldn't. It just was life safety. So I looked up life safety to find out what the provision of life safety was. You know what it is? It's not only physical safety, it's quality of life. And that's one thing that comes across here, that the board may have considered physical safety, but they didn't consider quality of life. I'm going to turn this over to my wife, who's going to tell the experience that she had.
Excellent.
My name is Noelle Kirsch, and having grown up in the Pacific Northwest, it has been a delight to go down to the inland ocean at Gillson Park. I like to take a daily walk using the sidewalk along the beach because I like to walk fast, and walking on the sand does not help with walking fast. But as I was doing that the other day, I unfortunately noticed a dead bird who had valiantly tried to fly over that fence. You know, it's about 4 feet high, and he thought he could make it, but couldn't quite make it, injured his wing, and wound up at the very bottom by the sidewalk. So I have not walked at the beach lately, but hope to do so again, and hope to enjoy seeing and hearing the waves once again. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Two, three, row 3. I see you. Go ahead. You can come up. Yeah, row 3.
Thanks so much, sir. I'm not used to speaking in microphone. Can people hear me? Yeah? Okay. My name is Ann. I live on 4th Street. I am a 7th generation Chicagoan. My mother was raised on the North Side, and she went to the free beaches in Chicago her whole life, as did her parents and her grandparents and her great-grandparents, and now my children have in Wilmette. And I want to say to the board, guys, ladies and gentlemen of this board, your optics are not good. People are watching, not just from this community, but from the outside communities, from the entire Chicagoland community, and now this is reaching social media and mass media. People are watching you guys. And what this looks like is racism. And what this looks like is xenophobia. And what this looks like is a privileged community in the North Shore of the Chicagoland area, yet again, monetizing what they should not be, and that is a natural resource and the quality of life. Many people have spoken about their personal experience at the benches and the beach and walking and praying and meditating and writing. I know you know these personal stories. You're hearing them. I need you to know that your personal story looks bad. And one of the things that's going to happen is people are going to want to know about the liability when, and this is my question for you, there is a mass casualty incident on the beach, which is a mile long and only has a few egresses at this time and a few entrances at this time. What if there is a disaster in terms of dramatic weather event? What if we get those tornado sirens that we are hearing more and more often for longer and longer months now? I want to know what happens when hundreds and hundreds of people on a beautiful day need to get off the beach and our first responders need to get on the beach and everybody is blocked by your fence. I want you to think about that, and I want to think about what that's going to look like in the Chicago Tribune and who's going to contact you next to find out what your plan was when you divided the community from their egress Thank you.
And what was your name?
Ann Bradford.
Bradford, thank you.
Just ask how I can submit these records
Hang on a sec. You know what? After the meeting, can you come and ask us that question and we can address it? So in this row, there was a hand toward the back. Okay, we got two. So this gentleman in the maroon sweatshirt or sweater.
We also have a woman in the third row as well.
Oh, I'm sorry. All right.
First of all, I'd like to thank the board for putting up with us. Okay. I've been a resident now here for...
name?
Oh, I'm sorry. My name is Jim McCarthy, and I've been a resident of Wilmette for 33 years, and prior to that, I worked for the village for 4 years as a police officer, and prior to that, I was an officer down in Florida. I understand the issues here. As I view it, there are three critical issues that the board is looking into. Erosion. First of all, the erosion is not going to be solved by a snowdrift fence. The water coming from the lake and wind coming from the lake is not going to be stopped by a snowdrift fence. The second thing is the foot traffic, which would be the stomping of the grasses and the dune grasses. You don't need a fence to do that. Some simple signs, and maybe please use the roadway, the path. I travel and have traveled in the many national parks, and that's what the parks do. They just simply say, please stay on the pathway and don't stomp the grass. That's it. We're the grass, leave us alone, we'll leave you alone. Second of all is the safety of the staff. Quite frankly, and I'm certain the staff is doing a great job, but having a teenager handle a disruptive individual makes no sense. It just doesn't cut the mustard. I mean, I'm sorry. If you really have serious problems, which I don't think there are in my time here, and I read it for a while, there's been no real problems. Nothing that warrants anything other than an off-duty police officer. I'm sorry. I just don't see it. So that's pretty much my story. I think there's simpler solutions. I think there's simpler solutions to what you're looking to accomplish than a fee-based fence that accomplishes absolutely nothing. Nothing. And the other alternative is staff. And as far as swimming, a sign that says no swimming. I mean, there are millions, or not millions, certainly tens of thousands of waterfronts throughout America that have open waters, and they just simply put a sign up, no swimming, danger, no lifeguards. So there's simpler solutions. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Thanks. Third row over here. Third row.
Hello, my name is Nancy Estes, and I'm a resident here. And I just want to say thank you. Thank you for this beautiful beach. This is why I live in this community. It is an amazing and wonderful gift. And I know you guys are having a tough time today. I get it. But what you've done, except for the fence, has been phenomenal. So I want to tell you thank you. Please take down the fence. I have a picture. Can I give it to you?
How many copies of it do you have?
It kind of shows exactly how I feel.
Well, you know what? Why don't you start there and we'll pass it this way. There you go. So in the blue, I'm going to let you go next because you were one of the original hands that went up, and then we'll come around to the boys that now want to make a comment.
Hi there, my name is Annie Aggins. I have lived in Wilmette for 53 years. And my parents have lived in Wilmette longer. They're no longer alive. My father died in October. He raised me at Gillson Park, and my mother was a village board trustee. So thank you, first of all, for all of your service, because I know it's a lot of work. Thank you. My father solved problems related to the natural environment around the world that involved public participation. And he taught me 3 really important things about problem solving: problems between the natural world, industries or governments, and the public. And that was that there were 3 things that needed to be satisfied. There had to be practical satisfaction, so the problem had to be able to be solved. But the 2 other ones that were just as important were procedural satisfaction, so that people felt like the problem was being solved in a way that worked for them, and then psychological satisfaction, so that people felt heard with their issues. And I have a lot of faith both in the village board and also in our community, which is really dedicated to this beautiful park and to each other. And so I think that if we can get back to this problem with those 3 triangular pieces: practical solution, procedural solution, and psychological solution, listening to everybody and listening to the board and the village, I think that we will find a solution that works.
Thank you, Andy. Make a run for it.
Hi, my name is Johnny Austin. I've been in Wilmette since, I believe, 2021. We moved from Edison Park in Chicago. My thoughts a little controversial based off of what everyone else says, but I think we should have a fence. I mean, I feel that a fence isn't 100%, it wasn't 100% necessary, but because of actions that have already been, because of actions that people have chose to do, it's necessary. Because whenever someone decides to do something that's not what's illegal or not against the rules or anything, they get those rights that they have broken taken away. If I were to do something that would end me up in prison, that's my rights being taken away for what I have done, and that's a consequence for what I have done. Offense, the things that have been broken, the rules that have been broken is trash being left all over. I've seen that when I've been there. I've seen lifeguards, which isn't their job at all, go out of their way to go pick up trash at the free beach. And just people doing stuff that's not safe, not appropriate for a public area, and then just simple rules they're really easy to follow, but apparently people can't follow those simple rules. I'm in Scouts, and one of the Leave No Trace principles is travel and camp on durable surfaces. And yes, it's a durable surface. We're allowed on there, but when there's more people, then those surfaces get worn out and worn out and more worn out throughout the years of it being there. So by maybe charging people to go in there, that'll push people away from being on that beach, to get less people on that beach so we can preserve our wildlife. And then, like I said earlier, more problems means more problems to the beach staff, and they have to go out of their way to do stuff that they aren't required to do, and that's not right. And then also, going back to the trash, animals will be safer. I know someone mentioned that they saw a bird that had passed away because it hit the fence, and I'm not an animal rights activist or anything, but it happens because we have to eat food and stuff like that, but that's for a purpose. It's not just an animal dying for no reason in the wild because of something that a human was just too lazy to put away. And then back to that bird dying in the fence. That can happen to so with that idea, would that technically mean we shouldn't make sky rises because the birds crash into those and they die too? I mean, it's just a cause that we can't stop, but pollution and killing animals that way is something that we can stop and slow down. Thank you.
Thank you.
Johnny, I like your sweatshirt a lot more than Alan's. Thank you.
Oh,
Hi, my name is Zayan Ladwani, and first I want to say thank you for your work. I am a scout. I spend a lot of my time outdoors, camping, biking, or just having a good time. Nature reduces stress and increases creativity. And by putting a fee on going to a once free beach, reduces our opportunity to de-stress and increase our creativity. As a kid, I had a trip with my cousins to the beach. Now, if I try to do that, I would have to pay $50 each time I would want to go to the beach with my family. People in surrounding communities, as well as this community, cannot afford to pay $5 for each person in their family when they want to go have fun at the beach. And having a fence is not the proper solution that will reduce teenagers coming into the beach to have a good time or just to be reckless. Look at the amount of people who have come here today to voice their concerns and take time out of their days to show you that this is an important matter. You can't be putting a price on people's happiness and enjoyment. Thank you.
Is there anybody else on this side of the room? No. All right, on this side. Okay. I turned away too quickly.
I'll start talking now to save time. First, thank you guys so much. My name is Mandy Watson. I graduated New Trier in 2016, and since then I got my master's in coastal science and policy with a focus on beach access, equity, and climate change. Public beach access is a protected right under the U.S. Constitution and the Public Trust Doctrine, and the fact that beach access is being restricted, particularly for non-Wilmette residents, is a social justice issue, and it's a racial issue, as Wilmette is largely a white and wealthy place, and it's common knowledge that South Beach is predominantly used by non-residents, many being people of color. While previously a free beach, South Beach now charges $10 for non-residents, and while $10 may seem insignificant to some, for a family it could add up, and this cost also combines with the other costs that are associated of visiting the beach and the challenges of visiting the beach that many Wilmette residents don't have to deal with due to economic status and physical proximity to the beach. Fencing off a previously free beach and having higher fees for non-residents exacerbates existing inequalities that are rooted in society and Wilmette's history. Putting up fences here sends a message that we don't want outsiders coming to our beach, that these people are not welcome here. The fences are setting a precedent of racial and economic exclusion, and I believe that you, the Park Service, the Park District, has a responsibility to maximize beach access to the people that don't have the privilege of living in Wilmette. You should be working towards minimizing barriers to beach access, not constructing barriers and not constructing fences, and I support the swim at your risk, at your own risk policies. Thank you guys. And thank you guys.
Okay, this side. Show of hands. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, I'm going to start in the front row. This young lady right here.
Hello, my name is Dahlia McGann. I have always loved the beach. I would go there with my family a lot, and I have seen the other side of the beach, and it was always amazing there. My grandparents would go on the benches and sit. I've seen so many people there enjoying themselves, and you have no right to just wreck this. You have no right to put a fence there. You have no right to wreck these people's lives. It's unfair for you to do this. You do not have control over that. And it's ridiculous for you to just put a fence there and wall off everyone else. It's ridiculous. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. My name is Lee Goodman. I grew up in Glencoe. I met a girl at New Trier when we were both students there, and for the last 45 years we've been married. She's from Wilmette. I've lived in Evanston. I've been on every beach and every park and all that around here. And I imagine that now that we've heard dozens and dozens of people on one side of the issue and one kid on the other side with about 150 people in the room, what you must be wondering is just how quickly can we reverse this decision? And the answer is you can do that tonight, because it was done. It was not, as I understand it, done with public comment and notice and hearings. It was done precipitously by you. So you can tomorrow morning have your crews go out and start taking out this fence. And I suppose there are probably people here who volunteer to help if you have trouble with that. But if someone tells you you have to actually follow the Open Meetings Act and do it a particular way, you can set that meeting tonight and schedule it and hold it very quickly. So there isn't much holding you back. Now, why am I here? I live in Northbrook now, talking to you about this. It's because you were the last hope. You were the last free beach. Some people are pretty skeptical this has anything to do with safety, and I can understand why, because all the other towns around here have the same policy, and they don't say it was because of safety. My town won't let you use our swimming pool, and Highland Park doesn't let people from Winnetka use its facilities, and, well, we don't have to talk about Kenilworth. So what we got here is the possibility, from my point of view, that if you go back to the old policy, we will go back to having something that these other towns can then look at and say, maybe we could do that too. Thank you.
You don't have to run.
Hi, thank you, John Weinberger. I'm a Wilmette resident. For people who have limited mobility, people for whom walking is difficult, maybe for some of the elderly, the South Beach is their access to the lake. So please don't take that away. And I know several people have said this already, but I've been following the park planning process. And there was a display at the beach house, and there's been surveys and so forth. And I'm pleased that the park board is seeking that kind of input. I've never heard about this fence, so that somehow this was left out of all the important Gillson planning process that the public was going to have input in. So please don't take that access away. Thank you.
Okay. Yep. You're way ahead of me.
I'm a Chicagoan. I'm a fast mover. Although I will say I'm not really a Chicagoan. I say that to people when I travel, which I do. I travel all around the world and lecture, and I've seen a million beaches because I'm a beach person. But my name is Barbara Royal, and I am a Wilmette resident pretty much my whole life. My entire family was here. We consider, in fact, we often say, I'll meet you in our living room, which is the South Beach. So we go there. That's what we do, is we would hang there. My mother, before, she was 93 when she died, but she still would toddle down to that beach because it's easy to do. And it isn't just sitting on the bench, although the benches are wonderful. It's getting over the hump even and being able to sit on the sand and look around and be part of this. Every morning at dawn, I swim in the lake every morning. Many of you have seen me there in the ice or in whatever. So I bought my house at 3rd and Central on purpose so that I would have immediate access to the lake, because I am a veterinarian and I work crazy hours and I need time to just be able to run in, swim, decompress, sit there and get home again. I can't do that anymore. Or when I am doing it, people are stopping me or something. If I'm not going at dawn, I'm going later in the day. Now I still go at dawn, but I'm just saying when I go later in the day, I'm stopped. What are you doing? Why are you going? And it's just it's not the same thing. It's not great. My bigger concern about this is not just me. I keep hearing people saying, we got to stop teenagers from rabble-rousing on the beach. Well, what else are they going to do? I mean, I'm sorry, I was a teenager here. I remember rabble-rousing on the beach, right? I don't want I have two children. I have a 19-year-old. She's still a teenager, but I had an older boy. I don't want him sitting in the basement doing video games. I want him at the beach, learning about nature, having fun with his friends, racking each other around. They need to run. They need to be outside. These kids need this beach to be free for them, to be open for them. I don't need it so much anymore. I'm old. Who cares what happens to me? But these kids need it. And so for us to say, oh, we got to stop the teenagers. This is really scary, teenagers. I was were you a teenager? Didn't you used to have to run around and be an idiot on a sandy beach with somebody where it's safe and you can fall in the water? I mean, I'm sorry, maybe you didn't, then sorry about your childhood. But for me, I did.
30 seconds.
I got 30 seconds. I have more than that in my life, I hope. I just want to say this is something worth having. I want it to be for my children. I want it to be for their children. I want to see the lake as my living room, because it's important to me, but it's important to everybody else. I often talk to clients and they'll say, oh, we have to be really careful about cancer or something like that. If we might have a problem in the liver, there might be cancer in there. What can we do? And we can't remove the liver because we might have a problem, because we need that. We might have a problem at the beach. We might see some problems there. We might need to, but we need the beach. So let's don't remove it. Let's just take care of it. Okay?
Is there anybody else on this side who would like to speak? I see no hands. I am now closing public comment for the meeting, and we are going to move on to item 5.0, staff reports. And as I mentioned earlier, that some of your questions and comments may be addressed in staff reports. So 5.1, Executive Director.
Can you
Tell me when you're ready.
Speak closer to the microphones? Thank you.
Just give me a second.
Yep.
There it is. All right. So in the written report in the packet, we begin with the upcoming Independence Day celebration on July 3rd. It starts early in the morning with the Yankee Doodle Dash. Starts at 8 a.m. There is no on-site registration, so anyone interested in participating, please sign up in advance. After the Yankee Doodle Dash concludes, the fun moves over to Centennial Park for the Star Spangled Splash. The event starts at 10 a.m. with public swim, where residents swim free. All memberships will be honored if you have that as well. Beginning at 11:30, park games will begin, traditional carnival games, bounce houses, and at 1:15, the event will conclude with a confetti cannon fireworks show. After this event, it moves back to Gillson Park at 4 p.m., where live music, dance performance by our dance team in the Walls Bowl. Food will be available for purchase, and the fireworks at approximately 9:20 p.m. Specifically, we had a little bit of a question about how we're adjudicating South Beach during the fireworks. Similar to how we operate at the Swim Beach on that holiday celebration, at 7 p.m. we close the water for swimming as it's getting darker and more crowded, and then we discontinue charging access onto the beach. So at 7 p.m., people will be able to come onto the beach, set up, and get ready for the fireworks a couple hours later. Moving past the July 3rd celebration, today marked the first day of our summer camp season. Over the past couple of weeks, our staff have been taking various trainings to get ready to make a fun summer for our campers and our camper families. Today is always one of my favorite days of the year, as you see the army of red shirt camp counselors headed to all their campsites, and it's a real kickoff to summer. Turning our attention to the pool, we did have a slight delay to the start of the season because we encountered a broken pipe that operated our plunge slides and the diving well. We were fortunate enough to get it fixed, and the delay was approximately a week. Despite the weather and this delay, things have been busy with 1,700 past member visits and 120 paid daily admissions. Moving to the beach, Sailing Beach opened in May. And has been operating smoothly along with the main beach. The Sailing Beach has had approximately 800 visits, while the main beach has had over 1,200 past member visits and 1,800 daily admissions. Langdon Beach resumed its beach operations for the first time since 2019 as the beach has returned due to the water levels receding. The operation has been smooth thus far, and about 180 past member visits and about 50 daily admissions. That brings us to South Beach. Before I talk about how things have gone thus far this year, I do want to kind of go back and talk about how we got here and give a little bit of history, and it's also in the written report if anyone wants to refer back to it later. The idea to implement a swim beach with the lifeguards at South Beach was first discussed internally between lakefront staff and district administration. The main thrust of that was to try and figure out how to address consistent issues of patrons swimming despite the signage and staff asking them to not swim, along with other rule violations, mainly the no swimming as well as alcohol consumption. Often, it was reported that often as staff tried to address these groups, too often the groups became combative and verbally abusive towards staff. The staff would often have to enlist the support of the Wilmette Police Department, who did their best to de-escalate any and all situations, and occasionally would issue citations as they saw fit. At times, the police were also treated similarly to the district staff. In the end, the lakefront staff and the administrative staff of the district were in agreement that something needed to be done before the conditions eroded further. Therefore, lakefront staff was asked to develop how best to address the issue, and ultimately the plan to implement a swim beach was presented. After review, staff were in agreement with the plan. The staff wrote a memo that was included in the March 2024 Committee of the Whole meeting. Staff presented the memo to the board in the meeting, and after any questions and discussion, the board expressed unanimous support for the new swim beach at South Beach. Staff began working on the implementation of the new swim beach. The first step in the implementation was to include the information about the new swim beach in the monthly board brief email on April 2nd, 2024, which summarizes the meetings that happened in the month prior. In addition, an FAQ was developed attempting to anticipate questions from the public and was placed on our website, as well as social media posts informing the public that swimming operations will begin this year at South Beach. In May, in anticipation of the season, the park staff began installing the perimeter dune fence to create access points onto the swim beach, similar to how the fencing works at the main beach at Gillson. At this point in time, residents began to inquire about what was happening, ask questions of staff, and share their feedback on whether or not they thought it was a good or a bad decision. From many of these communications, a couple things have resulted. As mentioned before, the FAQ has evolved as we've received additional questions and feedback. In addition, the exact layout of the fence has also evolved. We've made multiple modifications, initially moving it back from the sidewalk a few feet because dog owners expressed the desire for the dogs to be able to walk there. We added a third entrance exit point in the middle of the beach to allow easier access in and onto and off of the beach. And we also have reconfigured a couple areas of the fence to try and improve the views from some of the benches along the sidewalk on Overlook Drive. So that's kind of what has transpired thus far. As far as the day-to-day operations, the first couple weekends have been very smooth, as reported by lakefront staff. They've had significantly less conflict between patrons and staff. Management is not getting calls from staff on the South Beach to come down and assist because of the situation, and there have been no calls to the police. It too has been busy despite the weather, with 191 season pass visits and 2,700 daily admissions. I'm going to pause there before I go on with the report to see if there's anything else.
So, talk about access. You can still access it for free.
Sure. One of the things that we want to make sure everyone's aware of, it's in the FAQ, is that while to come and swim and to set up on the beach for an extended period of time, yes, there is either you must have a season pass or pay a daily admission. If you're looking to walk the water's edge, by all means, you're welcome to at no charge. Just let the staff know at the entrance gate and they will let you through.
Can you say why you call it the water's edge? I mean, people don't have to walk straight to the water and then walk along the water's edge, correct? They can walk across the beach and then get to the water's edge and walk up.
Correct. So what Commissioner Duffy was pointing out is that it doesn't mean you need to enter at the water's edge. You can come in at one of the entrances, walk across the beach to the water, and then proceed along your way. And that's a good clarification. And then another thing that I want to make clear is that some people have raised questions about what is going to happen with the fence once the typical swim season concludes. And we are going to definitely open it up more at a minimum, if not remove it fully. No final decisions have been made on that, but really the fence is there to try and create an environment that is safe and enjoyable for everybody. And in the off season, that need is not nearly as prevalent, and so we are going to definitely look at that. Furthermore, as many of you indicated tonight, there's an interest in working with us and coming up with alternative solutions and ways to achieve the same outcome. We're open to that feedback. I've responded that way to just about every email. And so please reach out to me. Those that said that tonight, I'm very interested to hear what you have to say. And I look forward to that conversation.
The other thing was, people were suggesting, I'm sorry, I will speak into the microphone. People were suggesting that we all of a sudden just decided to put up a fence without taking other actions. Am I correct to say over the course of the last 2 to 3 years, you've hired third-party security to come down and assist the full-time staff members that are working there, the high school and college
Correct.
kids?
Yeah, as many people have pointed out, asking a teenager to de-escalate a situation is not exactly going to solve all situations. So we have supplemented our seasonal staff that we hire at the beach with contracted security guards over at least the last 2 years.
So is it? Am I correct to characterize it in this manner that one of the regular beach staff would encounter a situation where someone's not listening to them, trying to get them out of the water because it's not a swimming beach? They would refuse. They would have to ask for adult help. When the adult help came, if the situation escalated, there was often calls to the police to assist. Is that a fair characterization of some of the events that happened down there?
Yeah, I think that that's a typical way in which a beach staff member would ask for support. If that support was unsuccessful in achieving the outcome, additional support would have to be asked for from the police department.
So the fence was not just a reaction to high school kids being attacked. There have been successive attempts to alter or change people's behavior or get them to try and follow some of the rules during busy periods, and they were just without success. So this is, like we've said, this is a temporary solution. If you have questions, feel free to send us emails. We are not taking any more public comment. So,
police reports that she was asked to put on record and.
So can you give us an idea of the security situation now? Didn't we have security there from 11 a.m. to 1 a.m.?
I believe it's 1:30.
1:30.
I sent you an email about the incidents you didn't.
And then,
we get the hours again. I did not hear that.
So Steve, for the Wilmette.
Security, I believe they're on site during the season until 1:30 a.m.
Okay.
Thank you.
so
Steve,
next,
one of the questions I've had, and I'm a parent of teenagers, who've lived, we've lived here for many years and they've gone through all the schools. My teenagers and their friends have told me they don't want to work at South Beach because they're afraid. And I know that's an anecdote in my kitchen, but I wonder if you could characterize how staff has felt about working at that location.
Yeah, we've heard similar from staff who are not your children. We've heard from staff saying they would love to return to Gillson and work, and they're willing to do so, but they refuse to do so if they were going to be asked to work on South Beach.
Gail, I told you, hey, I'm sorry, Gail, at the end of our meeting.
Literally.
So Kathy, I'm sorry, Michelle has said that you.
Sit here and wait for the whole thing because I'm actually feeling sick. So somebody could meet me out there. I want to know what to redact off of these, and I'll give them to you. It would be nice too if you allowed other people to speak over there, to allow me to have read the 4 questions that I submitted to the police, with the results. So, instead of shutting me down.
All right. You want to move on to the next part of your report?
Sure. Looking forward on to the rest of the agenda. There are 4 items under new business.
I had 2 things, if you don't mind. I apologize. One, you had mentioned that there were some questions about how this was communicated. You mentioned that this was in the board brief. What's the distribution of the board brief? how many people receive that?
We have approximately 31,000 emails addresses active on that list.
And if anyone here isn't on that list, how can they get on the list?
They can subscribe to the list off of homepage wilmettepark.org.
Great, thanks.
Just
Just one more thing, and then, and I believe it was Gail D. who mentioned some statistics about deaths, and I just think it's worth mentioning here that in 2011, Tristan Shamby did die. And I was on the board at that point, and that's certainly something that stayed with me for a long time. So I certainly wouldn't want to overlook that based on the statistic that was quoted.
Right. Well,
And then Steve, the environmental impact we talked about as a question from the previous impact. We're still looking at that. I mean, it is snow fence.
Yep.
All right, any more?
I'm good. Thank you.
All right, next.
All right, looking forward to the remaining portion of the agenda. Under new business, there are 4 items related to 2 large construction projects. There are bid recommendations for the board's consideration as well as contract administration. One is for the work at Langdon Park to build a revetment and access path down the bluff, and then the other is to do roads, sewers, and sidewalks in Gillson Park. The Langdon bid came in under budget when you look at not only this year's planned budget, but also what is planned for next year, as the project will go across 2 years. We do have Mark Wagstaff from Smith Group here if anyone has any questions specific to the Langdon bid project. Then the Gillson bid came in a little higher than our anticipated budget of $5 million at $5.8 million. And I believe that concludes my report.
No more. No. Oh, we're doing, okay, written. I apologize. All right, 6.0, we're on to unfinished business. There is none. So 7.0, we move on to new business. New business, the 7.1. Can I have a motion?
Yes, I would like to move to approve the bid for construction of the revetment and access path at Langdon Beach, including the base bid and alternative 1 in the amount of $1,384,688.
Can I have a second?
I'll second.
And just to clarify, that includes the base bid and alternate 1, which includes the beach house. It does not include alternate 2, which is the paving. As I move.
Oh, yeah, that's what I was going to check.
So people may want to have discussion about that, but that was the motion that I made initially. Sorry,
okay,
to
that's
clarify.
what I wanted to
It
check.
without an alternate.
Okay.
To
Yeah, so
alternate.
it's a discussion. So at this
Yes.
point, I prefer alternate 1, and it is the selection of the low bid. However, the alternate 2 to add turf stone, that particular contractor had the highest value for alternate 2, and so that is something that we could add at another time.
That's
if
my
we wish.
understanding as well, correct.
I'm comfortable with alternate 1 as the low bid.
Anybody else? Comments?
Yeah, I mean, I honestly, I'm still going back and forth between whether to go with alternate 2, because altogether it's still a low bid, and it would be nice to get it done, but I also see the other arguments. So I'm sorry, I haven't really come to a conclusion. I'm definitely, I definitely am in favor of alternate 1. And I'm sorry, I guess I'm listening to I want to hear other views.
Patrick,
So this is where I still think that the 2022 plan better serves the needs of the parks and the community. We talked about this last August pretty extensively. I remain disappointed that we chose the current straight line path, the aesthetic of it, versus the access of the 5% grade, the north exit, the better bluff protection, but that was the board consensus at the time. What's in front of us, plan alternate 1, and subsequently last year I've helped formulate that plan with you, and I have full confidence in staff and Mark, wherever he is, there he is. And this, I struggle with this, but it does have my hands on it because I worked on it, and it is part of responsibility of a board member to respect board consensus, and this plan fits my understanding of that consensus. So I agree with alternative 1. I'm not necessarily sure we need the turf stone now. My understanding is that could come later. Mark, is that fair? Or Christy? Or
Yes, actually, Mark, and I kind of have a question too, if you don't mind standing.
Come on up, Mark.
Good evening.
Hey.
Do you want me to start with your question?
Sure.
Yes.
So, You do have the option of putting the turf stone in at a later date, but that would be a separate project. You would almost certainly have to bid that, and so you would have to go through a separate set of documents. Someone would have to come in, whoever the low bidder was at that time. There would be some, additional disturbance, and the cost that the contractors put as that number as the alternate, that is not the number that you would anticipate if they were doing that as a standalone project, because they'd have to do that site access, that mobilization, that fence, all those other things. So but you totally have the way that we structured the bid was to have that as an alternate so that you could decide to do it as part of this project or have it done at a later date. But it would be a separate standalone project in the future.
Mark, could you help us understand or perhaps give context as to why there's such a wide range under alternate 2? I mean, the bids are from 24,000 to 550,000. It's hard to say. I mean, it sounds like they don't want the work. 550,000. Who can say?
I can't answer that.
Okay.
But for the 4 serious bids, and we'll leave the last one out as not being serious, perhaps. You noted that the low bid was 24,000, the other 2 were 36 and 40. That's a fairly small range. And then this bidder is 2.5 times the highest of those, 4 times the other. I understand there might be some additional costs, but we don't necessarily expect that it's going to be 4 times the low bidder. We don't know until we bid it, but it's certainly something that could be done at a later date.
Yeah, it could be done at a later date. You would have to do it as a separate project. It obviously
we might end up there anyway.
At that entrance point, it would, but yeah, you absolutely have that. You can, try to get a better price. But the numbers that my sort of warning is that low number is probably not what you would find in the future as a standalone project.
But we don't know what it is until we bid it, of course.
Yep.
We understand that.
I had a question about using, what do we call it, the wage, prevailing wage on certain size projects. Did we change that number higher, or was that something that we had to petition to change with the state or something like that?
No, prevailing wage doesn't set a dollar threshold. It's the nature of the project. I think you're thinking of the bid threshold. The bid threshold moved per the state of Illinois statutes, but not prevailing wage.
All right. I thought if this project was $20,000, we wouldn't have to. No. Okay. That's my mistake. I was looking for a way to keep it cheap.
To your point, if it was less than $30,000, which I believe what Mark's trying to convey is likely it wouldn't be as a standalone project because of mobilization needs, that you wouldn't have to do a bid because the bid threshold is $30,000.
Right. But we would probably exceed the bid threshold. We'd have to go out for new drawings, new because we wouldn't have the permit anymore to do the project. We'd have to go through that process.
There might be separate permitting, less extensive. We wouldn't have to involve IDNR and some of those, but we would definitely have to deal with Village of Wilmette, possibly MWRD.
Right.
Yeah.
So again, it turns into a 6 or 8 month process to get this road in if we go as a separate project. Right. This field
potentially
space. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's something to consider. I guess that's the point I'm trying to bring up.
Yeah, this has been helpful. Yeah, that's been helpful.
I had a question about, by the way, thank you for going through all of this and comparing the bids. And I know you noted a number of errors, for lack of a better word, in a couple of the bids. The low-cost bidder, it looks like there was one issue that was about a $5,000 delta, but a couple of the others were, including the second lowest bidder, there were more issues. Is that fairly common? I mean, I've looked at a lot of these bids in the past, and this seemed to be a little bit more extensive in terms of errors or corrections that I've seen in the past.
I mean, the reason that we do the review is because you often find that. I think the issue with the second low bidder is what they did is they independently came up with the last column on the bid form and then backed into what the unit price was. But then with the rounding that came with that, if you multiplied the numbers that they
didn't quite add
right, they didn't quite add up. But it's not a. I think it's just a matter of the way that they came to it, and so we would, it's not uncommon to find small, some items like that.
Thank you.
So this is a curiosity question. I'm sorry, Mark, to drag you into this because you may not really have the answer. But as I look at, the bid and then the alternate, someone comes in at 52, but then you add the turf stone in.
They're two separate ones. Those are.
Well,
they're two separate alternates.
Yeah, we structured the
control shelter. They're not.
So okay, my mistake.
Yeah, they're completely independent.
Right. All right.
Just to
I
clarify.
take back my question.
Okay.
So, okay, so just for clarification, so the low corrected bid, does that include both alternate 1 and alternate 2, or is it just?
So we have it tabulated so that you can see the total. So we asked the bidders to submit total base bid plus the 2 alternates, and that was how we did the original comparison.
And with the total, even including alternate 1 and 2, where John Keno is higher
Yeah.
than alternate 2, it's still combined the lowest bid.
They're the low bidder if you just do the base. They're the low
I think that
bidder
makes
if you
sense, and I'm
do
comfortable.
one or other
Right.
or
Yeah.
both alternates.
That's what I wanted to confirm. That's
Yeah.
what
It wasn't.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Thank you for clarifying, because it wasn't 1.4 plus. It was a total of.
Right, and so the motion
Okay.
I made was for a specific dollar amount that included alternate 1, but did not include
So
alternate 2.
with yours, it would be actually lower than the number that's
Right, I have it
there.
written at the bottom there,
Yes,
1.3.
Okay,
Yes.
okay.
I'll steal my
Yeah,
paper back.
Yes, 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 thank you.
Thank
Okay.
you. Happy to help.
So we need to vote on the first motion
Correct.
if we decide we want to accept the total that includes alternate 1 and 2. And it's the second motion.
Now can we make a second motion?
Well, so we've got to.
Actually, the motion.
We've got to go through the first
The
motion.
motion was made
For just
absent
one, alternate
alternative
one.
2. So it was
Yeah.
made for
Yeah.
base bid plus alternative 1.
Yeah, so
For a
if I.
total of 1,384,688, including the base bid and including alternate 1 for the beach house structure, but not including the paving.
Okay. Yeah.
Correct.
Any more questions over here, Patrick?
Well, not for motion 1.
Right.
I mean, I think that if you're thinking about as the one that, because thinking about voting against this,
Yeah.
I feel I'm interested. Maybe my perspective is helpful in that adding an alternate 2 is not spending $110,000. It's the delta between $40,000 and $100,000. It's a $60,000 change. And when I hear Mark talk and kind of become more informed about the permitting process and some of the fun that entails, I am starting to lean towards Cecilia's approach, which is that while we don't like how the sausage is made, we ultimately are getting everything we want at the lowest possible price. But don't listen to me.
Yeah, I'm willing to make a second motion.
Well, we have to deal with the first, I think.
Understood, so we should vote.
All right. No more comments? All right, let's take a vote.
All right. Commissioner Leahy?
No.
Commissioner Clark?
No.
Commissioner Goebel?
No.
Commissioner Murdoch?
Yes.
Commissioner Duffy?
I actually am no on this.
All right.
So the motion fails.
Yeah. All right, so can we make
Yeah.
someone want to make a new motion?
I move to approve the bid for the construction of the revetment and access path at Langdon Beach in the amount of $1.485
Do I
by
have a
John
second?
Keno and Company.
I'll second.
All right. Cecilia, second. Do we have discussion on this?
We kind of did
We're
already.
good? All right, let's take a vote on this.
Commissioner Leahy?
Yes.
Commissioner Clark?
Yes.
Commissioner Goebel?
Yes.
Commissioner Murdoch?
No.
Commissioner Duffy?
Yes.
That motion carries.
Okay. I lost my agenda. Here it is. I got it.
No, it's more oversight.
Now we go to, the construction administration proposal.
Correct.
Cecilia.
Yes, wait a minute, yeah, I did that. I move to approve the construction administration proposal from the Smith Group.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. We have some discussion. Patrick, you want to start us off over there from the island?
It's June 10th, 2024, and this has been going on for a very long time. It's not perfect, but I do think it respects a lot of time and effort. I'm a yes for this. It needs to be done.
And just kind of, we've been working with Smith Group since the beginning, right before the pandemic. And
Beginning of time.
Yeah. And I'm just, I have just always been impressed very much by the professionalism and by their responsiveness and by how they have handled all this and the information they've provided. And I am very confident and looking forward to having them work.
Make one comment that someone in the audience today talked about needlessly paving this path, and I think for those who haven't been following along the way, I think that you heard from many of us that wasn't our preference, but that there were a number of challenges with ADA accessibility issues and city and village and state regulations that imposed some requirements on us that certainly affected the final scope of the project. So I think that's worth noting that some of while I think we ended up with a good plan, some of what the specifics were not necessarily ideal, but from my perspective at least were imposed upon us by third parties.
And by statute. And by statute. I mean, that's
what I mean.
I know, but it's right, but it's not.
Yeah, I've been very pleased with the work and the effort to arrive at this point. So thank you.
All set. Said vote.
Commissioner Leahy?
Yes.
Commissioner Clark?
Yes.
Commissioner Goebel?
Yes.
Commissioner Murdoch?
Yes.
Commissioner Duffy?
Yes.
Contract is approved.
7.3 on new business. Consideration of the recommended bid for the roadway, sewer, and sidewalk construction at Gillson Park. Can I have a motion?
So move. I move to approve the recommended bid for the roadway, sewer, and sidewalk construction at Gillson Park.
I'll second.
Excellent. Some discussion.
I basically could say the same thing on the island. I could say the same thing, right? This is half a decade in the making.
Oh, no. This goes
More
back
than
to
that. It's more than
2007.
that. It's more than
This has
that.
been going on for a long time, and it's long overdue.
I will be so happy to finally have a dedicated space trail for people to walk from the start of Gilson to Overlook to the.
And I look forward to pavement
Yes.
and improved curbs that children won't trip on and sewers that drain.
And yes, yours that drain is the
Long overdue.
All right.
And just for clarity, the work proposed includes, but is not limited to, the following major work items: pavement removal, pavement patching, hot mix asphalt surface course, water main abandonment, open cut, directionally drilled water main, storm sewer replacement, curb and gutter, sidewalk removal and replacement, grading, reshaping, traffic control and protection, pavement marking, electrical, fiber optic, plumbing, and restoration, all within the Gillson Park in the village of Wilmette. I mean, it's a pretty comprehensive project to replace the curbs and gutters, and I think it will be welcomed once it is completed.
More than the curbs and gutters, it's to correct all the potholes in the.
Absolutely.
It's also
Create safer ingress and egress.
So it just.
It's a lot to it.
And everyone say, I've lived here 32 years and it's been in bad shape 32 years. I would be very happy to see this finally done.
I think one of the things that I'm most looking forward to out of this is once this project is out of the way, or at least most of the way done, we get to start the beautification projects at Gilson. Because we have approved a landscape plan for Gilson. And I would like to also point out that this is the first time that we've had landscape plans for all our parks now. We've never had landscape plans before this year. So I'm looking forward to how those plans get throughout the system, how they get implemented over the course of the next 5-10 years. So off my box, may we have a vote?
Commissioner Leahy?
Yes.
Commissioner Clark?
Yes.
Commissioner Goebel?
Yes.
Commissioner Murdoch?
Yes.
Commissioner Duffy?
Yes.
Bid is approved.
All right, 7.4.
I move to approve the construction administration proposal for Gawalt Hamilton Associates.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Some discussion on that? Nope. No discussion?
Go all the, I have to say the same thing. We've been very impressed on their professionalism and how they dress. So I look forward to working with them.
Yeah. All good. All right, let's have a vote.
Commissioner Leahy?
Yes.
Commissioner Clark?
Yes.
Commissioner Goebel?
Yes.
Commissioner Murdoch?
Yes.
Commissioner Duffy?
Yes.
Contract is approved.
Before we move to 8.0, I enjoy speaking to the projects that staff has undertaken and is often or very rarely noted under Christie's supervision, and also, with Sheila's help, I'm sure, pats on the back from Lindsay, everybody, all staff, all the way down to the people digging the holes. This is fantastic work that goes unnoticed, from the plantings at Shorewood Park to what happened in order to get Centennial open, which was quite the project with the beyond repainting of it. I'm just laughing because it looks like one of your staff members was completely excited that the pool was filled and not leaking anymore. He's standing out on the diving board just thanking us all. So constructing of lifeguard chairs, all the plantings at, this looks like the CRC, they created beds.
I'm going to interrupt you for a minute, because if on the pictures, you'll see the vertical planters that are there along the side of the wall. Those were built by my son for his Eagle project.
Oh,
No, that's great.
Good
So
job.
I have to give a shout out to
Full
my
circle.
Love it.
Circle.
So much staff. It's just, I think it's really important that we take notice and we thank the work that goes unrecognized by the staff as they work throughout our system. And it's what helps make the place look so great. So now we move on to, I believe that's it, right? 8.0.
I move to adjourn.
Thank you. Do I have
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you for attending.
Thank you very much.